Hello, and welcome to Khyber Shards, a
That's who
5th
we are.
edition actual play set in the Eberron
That's what we
campaign
do.
world. It's true.
That's where we are.
That's yeah.
Sorry.
It's Friday, so I had RA here with me, but apparently he's just done with me. So,
I don't know if y'all
oh,
can hear the
we do
dog.
have
He's going nuts.
excellent. Oh, is he? Someone dare approach the house.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Uh, so most recent episode was a momentous one for Esri in uh, agreeing or deciding not to contest, at least, the desire of the party to be as rid of the sword as they could think of to make themselves.
Yeah.
So, so I this is not a question that was asked this week, but it's a question that was asked last week, so I'm going to ask it to you. Any regrets?
uh, it would have been fun to kill Ari and see where that went. It also would have been
Mm-hmm.
fun. I think where we ended up was like, sorry, I was gonna say if it also would have been fun for Ari to get away and see where that went. I think we ended up in like the softest landing that we could have, just about.
Mm-hmm.
On these things. So in some ways, I regret that our attempts to recover Ari were so successful. Just because it would have been interesting to see where it went. Not that
Yeah.
it won't be interesting otherwise, but uh, there's when you if you let go of trying to win in D&D,
Mm-hmm.
things get a lot more interesting, and that yeah, I mean everything's cool, and I'm plenty happy with how things worked out, but I would also like to, go back to that save game and try the other
Mm-hmm.
options and
Right.
see what
Try the
happened.
renegade option.
Yeah, we won't know now, right? So
Right. Yeah. That's true. Yes, D&D is a choose your own adventure where the pages disappear as you go.
right.
It's like one of those legacy games where you tear up unopened options.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we have just plenty of questions, and there were plenty of opinions in the watch party about the way that it went down. So we're going to jump into that. The first comes from Emily. Emily says, "We all know that Esri doesn't like the sword. Doesn't like that the sword was given to the Forgotten Prince. But how do you feel about what happened to the sword? Also, out of all the plans discussed about what to do with the sword, which do you think would have had the least negative fallout?"
Ezri was just, I mean, he was so emotionally attached to recovering the sword for his own purposes. So it wasn't necessarily that he didn't want it to go to the Forgotten Prince or any particular variant. It was just that he wanted to take, yeah, he still wanted to do what he came there to do. Like he just did. At the same time as recognizing eventually that like that's not good, but there's no way he can make any sort of rational decision here. So that's why he left it up to the rest of the party. Um, how do I feel about it going to the Forgotten Prince? Given the options we had, if you start from we started from the place that we can't take this back to Stormreach. We that
Mm-hmm.
we thought, okay, taking it back to Stormreach will be bad because we're not going to be able to hold on to it. They're gonna get it from us if we take it back to Stormreach. From there, the only options that we didn't seriously discuss, I think, were taking it somewhere else. But we didn't really have that option because we had already, Malcolm was like, we're going back to Stormreach, that's what we're doing. We had Mina, we had promised we were taking her back to Stormreach. So we really were left with chuck it overboard. The Forgotten Prince thing was out of left field, or I mean, I guess the Sphinx was mentioned, but I think all of us were thinking, you know what, we've put her in enough danger. You know, the favor's been used. Maybe we don't push that. So honestly, I think it's as good as throwing it into the ocean. That it seems like it's a more known risk, where the ocean was like, okay, we don't really know what the risk is here. It's maybe someone could find it. Maybe there's sentient beings down there. Although someone pointed out that if you're a vampire in running water, and maybe that's a great place for it. Maybe you can't get out of there. I didn't think of that, but that's an interesting wrinkle to the whole thing.
The ocean running water? That is interesting. Certainly not still, but
yeah.
Yeah.
I think, short of knowing how to destroy it, we did the best we could. They did the best they could. I don't think it's a great plan. I mean, it's just, in the absence of a great plan, you do the best one that you can think of. Yeah. Sure, destroying it would be the best. I mean, I think I don't know exactly the mechanics of the sword because Ezri didn't touch it. Obviously, I saw that you got to make a save against it, and Ezri is the most equipped of the whole party to make such saves. Like, that's what Kalishtar do.
That's very true.
And so there was metagaming. It was really hard for me not to just pick it up and be like, listen, I can defeat this thing. But I mean, maybe the DC was 30, and like, it, even if I'm really good at it, natural 20 is all you can make. I don't know. So, but sorry to go further there. You know, maybe if Ezri could get the sword and not be charmed by it, maybe they could have landed, and then he could have taken it elsewhere. I don't know. I feel okay with what we did. I think for sure it's going to come back up. It just seems like the way of it.
It's DC 20.
All right, hold on. I'm going to make that roll right now. That's it'll be a wisdom saving throw with advantage, right?
Yeah.
Okay, well, the first one was a 15. Next one was 22. There it is.
So, who knows what would happen in the moment. All right. Emily also asks, which PC or NPC is Ezri most likely to accept a hug from?
I did see some of the comments that, like, I want to give Ezri a hug, but he wouldn't want a hug. I don't recall Ezri having ever been explicitly like anti touch. I don't think I've put that into it. I mean, obviously he's not like a super touchy-feely guy.
Right.
But like, and he would be a little weirded by Ari doing it just because of his relationship with Ari. But like, I think if any of the crew wanted to give him a hug, he wouldn't be opposed to it. It's just also not something he's seeking, I guess. That's probably just purely me, frankly. You know, I hug my family, but like, I'm also not just going around hugging people because like I need hugs. So that's probably what it's coming from. It's just, he's not offering hugs, right? So it makes sense that maybe others wouldn't offer him.
And Darren asks,
he also doesn't just often, even though we've had so many like talk about our feelings episodes, I don't think Ezri often comes out and just says exactly what he's feeling. He says things that are top of mind, but this was a break where he just gave what he was feeling, and that's fairly rare for him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Darren asks, RA, doesn't Ezri still have remaining business in Sharn with his family? Why the hurry to head back to Stormreach?
Oh, well, I covered that before. I mean, it wasn't really our hurry to head back to Stormreach. It was our ride and our missions hurry. We as as poor as we are at it, we do still acknowledge our responsibilities and try to fulfill them. The other thing is, Ezri didn't know until that completely improvised moment. Well, first of all, he didn't know he was going to Sharn until like the episode before we went, and then we left the next episode. And then he didn't know until he went to talk to Findir, who we made up on the spot, that there was unfinished business, that there was any business there. And so absolutely that's on his mind. But he was in no way prepared to deal with that. It's on my mind too. Like it's been on my mind since the first death of what if any thread of Ezri's family drama am I going to pursue? So it's still out there. It's just king of the hill, you know. You got other things that come up and other things you got to deal with first, and I would like to get there, but it's got to make sense. If we're gonna role play it, it's got to make sense. If the group splits up for some reason and we have a time jump, and that would be easy to say Ezri goes and checks it out. I will say it was so. I don't know if we have a question about this, but I'll. Part of my thought was, if I said to the group, follow Ari if what I'm doing doesn't work, and Ezri expected to fall regardless of if what he was trying to do worked. He would fall, and if it didn't work, he would fall, and he would gash his form and not die from fall damage, I think, and float his way into the city and work his contacts in the city, maybe go look up his family, and just work his way towards tracking the group down later. That was sort of in the back of my head. Like that's the backup plan. There was also the backup plan if we lost Ari as a group and we decided to start looking for him from Sharn, or we needed to stay in Sharn for some reason. Like pursuing those threads would have made sense then, but we all got back on the boat, and Malcolm was mad, and Mina was mad, and everyone those two needed to get back to Stormreach, so that's what we did.
Yeah. Laura asks, if you were to multi-class, what other class or classes would you take?
Would Ezri take?
Yeah.
I usually multi-class, by the way. I think this is my first D&D character. Maybe Locknitu was a straight paladin, but he also wasn't very high level. I haven't played him through a lot of levels, but I do tend to multi-class. But I also I tend to make it narrative. I will usually, if something happens to where the way I'm playing the character starts feeling more like another class, that's when I would take it. So, well, I mean, what could Ezri? I mean, there's certainly been opportunity, or perhaps there's opportunity for a a warlock in there.
Yeah.
Given some of his connections. I
Theoretically, wizard and go straight into necromancy.
Yeah, he's just not smart. He's not like book
Yeah.
smart, and so it wouldn't make much sense.
He'd be a bad wizard.
Yeah, yeah. Excuse me. I've really kind of committed to playing him as a straight druid. So if it comes up, it'll be something it'll be like the opportunity presented itself to that changes something about him, but nothing really comes to mind as likely.
Yeah. Further questions from Laura. In episode 101, Esri offered to give Mina names of people in Sharn if she chose to stay there. Who's he thinking of?
At the time, I had no names. But my backstory is he survived on the streets of Sharn, and so he knows people. So that's where Findir came from. It's like he knows someone that he could likely find. Obviously, his family is potentially there, so he wouldn't suggest that she's not going to go live with them because they're pretty Kalashtar only. But in my conception of how that group works, someone coming to beg for help would probably get help.
Sure.
To some material help. So sending her there would be a good start. And then I would probably, if it came to that, we'd probably talk and try to come up with maybe one more type of person that could send her to. But I think I've said this before, but a lot of stuff, especially backstory stuff, I just don't define until it's time to define it, because the more I get to know the character, the better those backstory definitions will be, I think. So I think it works better just to wait. And so if we had left her there, we would have figured it out then.
Sure, yeah. And then in episode 106, why did Esri go to, you kind of addressed this a little bit, why did Esri go to kill Ari so quickly? I understand that he thought he might be able to bring him back, but that seems like such an extreme risk to try before any other options.
Okay, so yes, mechanically true. But just keep in mind that these characters don't think in terms of D&D mechanics. The distinction between bleeding out or knocked out and death. I mean, yes, we know the difference between unconscious and dead, but mechanically, we're not thinking in those terms. So things Esri didn't know. He didn't know the nature of the curse. He got a little bit of what what happened to Lucan, but not everything. He doesn't know how often Ari can turn into a bat, or how long he can be a bat. He doesn't know. He really doesn't know a whole lot about what's happening to Ari. He figures if you kill a person and potentially put their soul into a new body, maybe curses are just gone. And he knows Ari's got at least one other curse put on him. And so maybe this is just the best thing. So it wasn't so much like what, I don't even really know what the other options were. I mean, he did try Greater Restoration first, but he was out of slots. That he was not going to be able to try that again without sleeping. And so again, you're talking about, okay, if he can turn into a bat, or even if he can't, and he's determined to get away, I don't have the option to do this again. And if we let him get away, maybe he's just gone. And so really the only thing he could think of to truly handle the situation. Even if it didn't break any curses, right? At least dead, he's not doing anything else, and maybe we can bring him back and deal with it when we have more information. It's extreme. I recognize that it's extreme, but then again, dude just turned into a bat and tried to fly away with the thing we came to get. So yeah.
Yeah.
And frankly, Ezri being back on the boat, being grabbed by Pog and Shade was not in the plan. So having everyone back on the boat, Ezri was now thinking, okay, well, I made the decision to try to kill Ari, and now they're trying to stop me. So it only really came up because he was like, well, no, I have to convince them now. And he didn't think he had to convince them.
Emily asks, your favorite vampire media?
The Anne Rice, I think I've answered this, but the Anne Rice,
Did we? I don't remember.
Vampire Chronicles, or whatever. Interview with the original Interview with the Vampire movie is also very good. It was a shame. I don't know if it did poorly or what, but it's a real shame they weren't able to make the next 2 books in the series with that cast. Because those books are excellent, and I really, really like where the vampires end up in all of that. The lore of that is established for them, is really good in my opinion. I watch more zombie things than vampire things, though. I'm trying to think of any other. I mean, I watched True Blood. I mean, I wouldn't say it's good. I watched it. What else is there even?
You haven't seen but need to see What We Do in the Shadows.
Okay.
Which is absolutely
I've read all the
hysterical.
Twilight books.
Really? I didn't know that.
The first movie was enough movie for me, though that was terrible, but I did end up reading the whole series. I thought they got honestly better as they went along, the books, but it's hard to recover from Sparkle Vampire. That's not good.
There's a new Vampire Chronicles thing, right? There's a series coming out.
Yeah, but it's on
Vampire.
Paramount, I think. And
is it Paramount Plus? Yeah,
I think
don't have
so. It's one of the ones that I don't have, and I already have most of them, so I don't think I'll get the chance.
Have you ever read I Am Legend?
I've not read I Am Legend, but okay, no, this is my answer. No, because that's zombies. Never mind, it's not vampires. World War Z.
World War Z is amazing.
The book is incredible. Mm-hmm. The movie has nothing to do with it. The book is incredible.
Yeah, I Am Legend as a book is the intersection between vampires and zombies.
Okay.
Because in the book, the plague that turns everyone kind of into zombies are zombies that have vampire qualities to them, sunlight sensitivity and that sort of stuff to them. So it's a cool intersection between those two horror genres, and it's great. The short stories, the movie was
I watched the movie and it was forgettable.
The movie radically alters the ending too, which the ending is the whole point is to get you to that ending. It's the entire point of the novella is to write the final paragraph of the book, and they cut the final paragraph of the book, and I just can't fathom. Anyway, Emily also asks, what motivation does Ezri think his family had for looking for him, or is Ezri still just unsure about that?
He's absolutely unsure. Here's the thing. He was like 11 when he ran away. And the way things are to an 11-year-old aren't necessarily the way things are. So yeah, obviously he's questioning, did he misunderstand? You know, is his entire, really, battery's low? How? Is his entire story from that point on just like completely based on a misunderstanding? And people change. Maybe he absolutely interpreted the situation correctly, and the family bond overrode the the enclave rules or expectations, and so someone came looking for him even though they weren't supposed to. He has no idea, and it's a very very confusing thing to feel when you've settled on anger and resentment, and there's like this twinge that maybe that was undeserved, or you know, potentially could be. That's very difficult to process. To be fair, he wasn't. It was years that he was there, so they didn't come looking for him immediately, or he disappeared better than he realized. Which is also possible. Maybe they were looking for him the whole time, and they just hadn't made it to where he was.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a hard thing to find out.
Who knows? Right. And then Nathan asks,
it would have made him like a little bit sad, but it would have made him a little bit sad, but much easier to handle if Findir had just said no one ever came.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, because at least it wouldn't invoke any doubt. Yeah, totally see that.
Yeah.
Nathan asks, how does Esri feel about the decision to attack Ari and dispel the charm on Malcolm, since he likely would have succeeded at bringing the sword to Arandis if he hadn't done
it? Okay, unpack that for me a little bit.
So, if you would just, if
because
Esri had just left
they
well enough
would have
alone,
been heading.
Yeah.
Boy, that is a good and difficult question. How does he feel about that? Well, I mean, he did what he did. Basically understanding that that's what he was doing. He from the start didn't want to drag the rest of them along anyway. So dragging them along under like a double false pretense. Like, okay, we're going to this place, and you're like, Ari is forcing it to happen dishonestly, and then Esri's going along with that. Like, that's too far for Esri. He would be, you know, him taking the sword to, I don't know, what sounds like actual hell on earth. Okay, you know, he can accept that, one, that's maybe a bad idea, and two, he's going to do it anyway. Him doing that and his friends coming along with him voluntarily, didn't want that, but he could accept it. But tricking at least 4 other people into going there, yeah, that's too far for Esri. He couldn't do it. There's also a little piece of it which was Esri didn't want someone else to take the sword to her. You know, they're like, that was part of the whole Demise situation. Is that, you know, Demise definitely wanted to get the sword herself, and Esri needed to keep that from happening. That's why he was letting her be part of it, is because, well, at least if she's part of it, he'll have a better opportunity to stop her, potentially.
Right.
So,
yeah.
But in the moment, that was a very little piece of it. The bigger piece was just, no, this isn't right. Ari wouldn't want this.
Right. And Nathan asks, how did you settle on Ezri's Sharn and non-Sharn accents? I loved the accent shift when you got into the Sharn slums.
Just like everything else that happened in Sharn, it just came to me in the moment that Ezri, it doesn't make any sense for him to be in this complete other city and be able to talk like he does and fit in any way. That's not how that would work. So it was very much an of the moment thing, and Irish is just one of the ones I've practiced. I don't have so many. So I took the one that sounded like it would fit in with what I was hearing elsewhere in Sharn, and that's really all it was. But it made sense in the moment that like, and I didn't tell anyone. No one knew because it was of the moment. So like, I just had to trust that. And really, I guess only Philip would need to react to it, being the only one who was playing a character that heard it. Well, no, I did play at it. I kept it going when I got back to the boat. I forgot.
Yeah, I caught that. I liked that.
So yeah, I didn't tell anyone what I was doing. So credit to y'all.
It was great. Yeah, that was really cool. And that concludes our questions. Thank you all so much for the questions. It's always fun to dig into the characters like this. If you want to get in touch with us, all of the links are down below. New episodes of Khyber Shards Monday, new Khyber Shards Answers Friday. And until next time, thanks for rolling with us.